Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hope you're doing well. We're continuing our reading of Niccolo Machiavelli's The Prince and Other Writings. We were in chapter 10, which dealt how the strength of all principalities should be measured. I really like reading about Machiavelli because people speak about him, but they haven't actually read anything about him, and I always was bothered by that. It seems to be a sort of spooky word people use for a mischievous type of person, and I always want to give some credit to Machiavelli for the practical things that he has said. Okay? Now, let's begin. Go ahead and listen to this as you are riding your bike, you're on a jog, you're on the treadmill, you are washing dishes, whatever fun thing is that you're doing. Let's begin. Therefore, a prince who has a strong city and does not make himself hated cannot be attacked, and if there were someone who attacked him, he would depart with shame, for in this world things are so changeable that it is almost impossible for anyone to do nothing with his armies for a year but engage in a siege. Now here, what do we see? Well, if you're a ruler, you have a strong city, don't make yourself hated. If you are loved and have a strong city, you're not going to be as easily attacked, because the people will endure with you, especially when it comes to a siege. Very useful information here. And should someone reply that if the people have their possessions outside, and should see them burning, they will not be patient. Now this is very true. So if you are hated and people's stuff is burning, they're not going to be patient and hold out. And the long siege and their self-interest will make them forget the prince. Yes, so if some people are enduring a long siege, right, they're being starved, they're not able to freely travel, then their self-interest is going to outweigh their love, most evidently. You can see this, how Joe Biden is doing a terrible job with the economy, and the press keeps censoring the authentic voices of the people. And people think that if you automatically criticize Biden, you must love Trump, which is absurd. But gas was super high, there was an egg shortage problem. There's so much that is falling apart, and Biden is so feeble. He's again fallen up the stairs of Air Force One and got a bruise on his head. Like, he's so weak and feeble that people are starting to lose their patience, and they're like, can this guy either just croak already? We want a new leader. We want someone else. So here we see how there's a long siege, and people, if they don't love their leader and it's not a strong city, they're not going to endure with patience. Today, in a modern sense, siege is an economic mode, in a way, where everything becomes so costly that people almost feel like, and the enemy is at the gate, because they are no longer able to make the money that they used to. They're not able to get the provisions that they used to, just like during a siege. And that is not something good for any country. When the people start to revolt because of the economic desperation, it's really a problem. I respond that a powerful and courageous prince will always overcome all those difficulties. So powerful and courageous. Now, by giving hope to his subjects that the evil will not last long. Now, by making them fear the enemy's cruelty. So here, he's letting us know that the ruler needs to give hope to the people. With hope, there's potentiality. There's the unknown. The hope of victory, the hope of a speedy end to a war. You're not just a doomsdayer, right? And then he contends that Making the people fear the enemy's cruelty will help them to know that we have to fight them off by any means and keep them at the gate and not let them come into the city. Right? Demonizing your enemy. It's quite interesting. Now, there are people who say that some would tell their subjects, fear me more than you fear the enemy, because I'll do to you this, they would say, if you do X, Y, and Z to aid the enemy. So there's a, you know what I'm trying to say? They fear their own ruler's vengeance upon them if they should side with the wrong people who end up losing the war. And names of the traitors will be handed in, and the punishment will be exacted. Now, by skillfully protecting himself against those subjects who appeared too ardently opposed to him. Moreover, it stands to reason that the enemy will burn and ruin the country after they arrive, at a time when men's spirits are hot and they are still willing to defend themselves, and therefore the prince has still less to worry about. After a few days, when their spirits have cooled down, the damage has already been done. The evils have been suffered, and there is no longer any remedy for them. And then the people will rally around their prince all the more, since he appears to have an obligation to them, their houses having been burned and their possessions destroyed in his defense. So here, he really reminds us about the spirits have cooled down. When people are in a hot tizzy fit, how you are to navigate that as a ruler. Really important here. Biden was a huge failure, and Trump as well, to cool the tempers during the Black Lives Matter riots, where innocent peoples were subjected to the terror because one man was brutalized. And it started off a firestorm, right? A good leader can see that the people are suffering by a certain faction, and you need to cool off everybody. You need to fix the problem. A good leader realizes when to do that and when not to stoke the flames. Kamala Harris, however, she paid for people to get bailed out with the Act Blue bail fund. So she was stirring the pot, right? When the Trumpies went into the Capitol, people were mad. Recently, however, there was a transgender rally, and they occupied a political area. I forget which building. Oklahoma Capitol building? I don't remember, but they were not called the same names as those who went to a different capital. So you can see how our leaders are not good at navigating the destruction and occupation of angry factions, and they're not able to read the spirits of the people and how they are, and they're not able to rally the people to them at all. However, Trump knows how to rally people to him better than Biden does. Biden can't even talk. And the nature of men is such that they feel obligated as much by the benefits they confer as by those they receive. Feel obligated by benefits they confer rather than those they receive. So the benefits you receive versus the ones you give out. Thus, if all this is taken into consideration, it will not be difficult for a prudent prince to keep the spirits of his citizens steady. So if you are a prudent ruler, you want to keep the spirits of your people steady. Very important. I agree with that. Both at first and later on during a siege. So the whole breads and circuses angle comes to point really in a unique way in this. Why do we have right now the Grammys and these award shows? Because if we didn't have entertainment, people wouldn't have any relief, and they'd be more hot in terms of their anger if they really got a picture of how bad things are. For example, there was a huge Ohio train crash, spilled chemicals everywhere. It's polluted the creek. It's any ecological disaster. Pete Buttigieg, booty butt stuff. He should be fired. He's done a terrible job. But nothing's really being done, and people's anger is getting hot, but they are being made docile. And people are really just getting absorbed into that TikTok matrix. You know, it's quite fascinating how the social media can rile people up or utterly erase reality and distract them. It's a unique weapon, depending on which app you're using and for which demographic. Facebook for the old people, Twitter for the political junkies, and then for the teens, it's TikTok, right? Instagram for the lustful 30-year-olds. It's very telling, very telling. So what we should know is that a good ruler will be able to have a strong city, will not make himself hated, and he's able to rally the people to his side, and by doing so, give them hope. Then, when he's going through a long siege by his enemies, the people will stick by him better. He will give them hope, and he will make them fear the enemy's cruelty. He will try to make it as short as possible, that attack. And if people lose their property, he needs to know how to calm them and fix that situation later on. And he must tend to the citizen spirits. Either way you look at it, the ruler has to care about the people. He cannot be despised by them, and he must care about their overall disposition. That's what he's getting at here. Very unique. Now the next chapter is chapter 11 on ecclesiastical principalities, which relates to the church or their clergy. I hope you enjoyed. By the way, if you'd like to join my blog, it's www.subscribestar.com/MilahanArchive. Hope to see you there.